Project Management for Healthcare Managers, Week 2, Organizational Strategy, HCML 375. What differentiates companies? What makes Ford different than Lexus, or Subaru, or Mack Truck? They're all vehicle companies, but each company makes products and services to meet a specific customer need. To meet this customer need, each company has a formula or strategy that they use to deliver to the customer in hopes to achieve outcomes or results. The organizational strategy may be intentional, where leaders design a strategy that includes a corporate mission statement for the company to follow and a vision that is a roadmap to the future. Organizational strategy always happens, but sometimes how organizations deliver to customers is more of a make it up as you go and is based more on personal values than a guiding focus. Sometimes a company will publish a mission statement or a goal statement and then not follow it by not aligning processes or reinforcement to this plan. This session reviews the role of organizational strategy in organizations and how project management can support the desired goals. The influences of an organizational strategy are primarily expressed in the mission and vision. The overall alignment to or the resistance against mission and vision creates the values, beliefs, and expectations of all the members in the organization. The expression of the values and expectations are through behaviors. This session focuses on the formal processes and some of the informal structure that drives this behavior. Another influence are the rules of the road in the company, the policies and procedures that define what employees should be doing, and if the rules and standards are monitored or enforced. In healthcare, regulations are a significant factor in defining appropriate methods and behaviors, and organizational policies should be updated to follow any changes or updates in regulation. Baked into the organizational structure is the expressed, implied rewards for performance and behavior, which drive motivation for all the members. Organization may have a lot of gray area between expectation and actual practice, and the amount of risk tolerance is a good indication of how much ambiguity is allowed. Risk tolerance is the measure of how much risk or uncertainty will an organization tolerate. If there is a lot of tolerance, there is not much enforcement of the rules, but those organizations that avoid risk will usually have more resources devoted to compliance. There are formal structures that support strategy as well as informal processes that can support strategy. The formal strategy is the published and approved company documents, such as the mission statement, the organizational chart, and the employee handbook. Sometimes these formal structures aren't published, or employees and leaders may not promote or follow these guidelines. For example, strategy needs to have an outcome or result that can be measured, a way to tell if the company is doing good or on track. It's difficult to tell the health of an organization without measuring the results of the strategies, but there are many companies that fail to pay attention to the metrics. Top performing organizations have a defined method of measuring results and actions to take when the organization goals aren't being met. The organization chart is a tool or diagram that defines authority and accountability within an organization. It is a roadmap to who's the boss of each group. How leaders behave and treat their employees is a function of strategy. The staffing performance system and resulting reward system is a company's way of promoting specific behaviors and can be a strong contributor to organizational strategies. Strategic goals can be represented by a pyramid, with the mission at the top and the other goals and objectives feeding up to support the organizational mission. Each layer forms a base for the layer above it. The set of core business goals support the mission, the objectives support the business goals, and the company processes, operations, and projects all support the business objectives. The alignment is necessary and critical for organizational strategy to be followed. The layer below must be built on the top layers. Goals created from the mission statement, objectives created from the goals, and the projects aligning to the objectives. This process is sometimes called catchball, where layers of the organization of the chart can pass down the mission and goal to the lower levels of the organization chart, and the results of the base of the organization, starting with the customer-facing level, passes results and outcomes back to the top. Let's take a few moments and describe mission and vision. A mission statement is what the company does. A well-written mission statement is a clear, concise description of the goals of the company and the outcomes it seeks to achieve. A vision statement is where the organization wants to go. This can be a powerful tool to align people to a common purpose and create a roadmap for anyone in the organization to follow. The effectiveness of the mission and the vision statement comes from the leaders. If they express the message and reinforce the intent and the goals of the mission and the vision, these statements can provide guidance and alignment toward a common goal. Good project management seeks to align project objectives with mission and vision. One approach to developing organizational strategy to achieve common vision is through Hoshin planning. Hoshin Kanri means to have a method that guides or controls the action of people toward a specific goal. The shining needle is a reference to the needle of a compass, where the compass provides an alignment to true north or a common goal. A large healthcare provider in central Wisconsin, DataCare, calls this True North Vision and established a reputation of being a highly aligned organization to a common strategy. Hoshin planning starts with organizational goals, which come from the mission and vision statement. From these goals, the organization develops strategies, what the organization will do to achieve the goal. The tactics are the ways that the organization will fulfill the strategies or how it is going to meet the goals. From each tactic is a set of processes to meet the tactics. The processes can be operational, day-to-day activities that are tactical ways to meet strategy, or maybe projects whose objectives and outcomes align to specific tactics. In the Hoshin Kanri, accountability is also defined, specifically who is responsible for making sure the processes align all the way back to the organizational goals. An A3X is a correlation matrix that is a great tool for verifying that results, strategies, tactics, and processes are aligned and coordinated. A3 is an approach where the method is documented on a single piece of large paper. A3 is actually a size of paper approximately 11 by 17. This tool uses a correlation matrix in each corner to analyze the connection and impact between the adjacent sides. You can start anywhere. I will start on the bottom. The organizational goals or metrics are entered in the column below the results. What the organizations agree on are the important outcomes or goals that define success. The strategies are entered in the column on the left. Then the results and strategies are correlated. The specific strategy is matched up with the result it produced, and the cell is marked with the level of impact. I'll be getting to an example of this on the next slide. The tactics are entered into the top rows above the label tactics. Then the tactics are correlated with the strategies. The processes are entered on the column on the right, and the process correlated to the tactics. The people or the leaders should be entered on the far right, and the correlation between the tactics and the people should be analyzed and recorded as well. Finally, the correlation between the results or organizational goals and the processes or in this case, projects, should be analyzed and recorded. This is an example of a class exercise based on a case study at Providence. Organizational strategy was analyzed around the medical home organization. There are 5 results or goals of the program identified at the bottom. The first thing to note is why only 5 for a potentially huge program? There should only be a small number of key goals in a well-aligned organization. One of the experts in management theory, Peter Drucker, says it's easier and therefore more achievable to follow 2 or 3 goals than to follow too many. Wouldn't it be easier to remember 2 or 3 important things than have to remember 257 important things? Then the strategies are on the left. Again, the smaller number to allow better alignment. The matrix between the results and strategies is filled out. We can see that number 1 result is aligned to number 5 strategy, and number 2 result is aligned to number 1 and number 3 strategy. What happens if any of the rows or columns are blank? In this case, we see that number 5 result has no correlated strategy. Looking ahead, we can see that there's processes that support quality, but in Hoshin planning, this is the gap. The organization wants to have quality, but it has no strategy to support that goal. In the tactics entry, the way the organization will do business, or how it will do business is correlated to the strategies. We can see tactic 1 and 2 both support strategy 1. For the tactics and processes, there needs to be enough to meet all the results in the strategies. But too many tactics and processes are resource intensive and can be a drain on finance and staffing. We see that the first 2 processes support the first tactic. In this specific exercise, there were gaps identified, such as why didn't processes 1 and 2 contribute to the results of the strategy and subsequent tactic is trying to support? That and many other issues were discussed in that particular context. This is only here to provide an example of how to analyze the connection between results, strategies, tactics, and processes. When writing project objectives, this is one way to map out alignment with organizational strategy and goals. If you complete this exercise and your project doesn't align with the overall results or correlate to a corporate strategy or tactic, you may want to adjust so that alignment is there. The informal processes will be covered at length in the following presentations, but their impact on organizational strategies cannot be minimized. Culture is the expression of values through behavior and unwritten rules, and politics and power are those behaviors that result from control dynamics. Culture has the most impact to contributing to or working against organizational strategies. Between the two, culture has much more influence than giving the saying, culture eats strategy for lunch. Politics and power also influence adherence to the formal organizational structures. In some cases, power and politics do not align with the published org chart, making strategy harder to monitor and control. Motivation is highly influenced by reinforcement, which is typically expressed by rewards, but is also guided by how the leaders and the sponsors engage with their projects. All of these formal and informal factors contribute dynamically to produce organizational character. They define how an organization, how a department or project team will behave or perform. Leadership and interpersonal relationships and team dynamics is connected to the organization and the success through the express organizational character of its leaders. How a leader or sponsor or project manager uses authority and influence is impacted by the individual and their organizational environment. Project managers need to use more influence because they're not typically in a role of authority, especially in healthcare organizations. But both healthcare leaders and project managers need to be mindful of how authority and influence work. Healthcare is greatly impacted by policy and adherence to and the enforcement of policy defines character as well. How resources and budget are assigned and managed impacts character as well. Some groups, such as social work or case management, tend to be under-budgeted and understaffed, where high-tech departments, such as radiology, operate with more budget and adequate staff. A department that has a budget or resource constraints may have a different character than one that is doing well with staff and resources. Another organizational characteristic that impacts leadership and management is ethics. Ethics is complex moral, legal, and social characteristic, but may times having multiple views on the same subject, but how ethics is expressed and managed impacts organizational strategy. The primary project management tools to create alignment with organizational strategy is organizational process assets. These are all the written documents, hopefully formalized and adhering to the policies and guidelines of the organization. Understanding the overall organizational strategy and how it fits into the goals and strategy of the organization helps both the project manager and the healthcare leader understand how these rules of the road support a project through different process groups. During initiating planning, it is important to draft project management plans that align to the organization. And during executing, monitoring, and control is the practice and organizational character that keeps the project going. The closing is a contribute to the organizational process assets to improve and contribute to the future project success. In review, we covered strategy, what are the factors that contribute to organizational strategy, and some examples of how to plan and analyze the influences and structures of organizational strategy, and finally reviewing the project management contribution of organizational process assets to organizational strategy.